Thanks for tuning in to Jets FM on the OFN as the New York Jets drop to 0-2 following one of Zach Wilson's rookie performances that we all knew would be happening at least once a season. And I'm glad we got that out of the way, Jan. At least one.
We hope it's only once a season because that
I didn't say once. I said a few times this season.
Okay,
so we got one of them out of the way.
That was ugly. That was ugly. Of course, to add insult to injury or injury to insult, depending on how you want to phrase it. I think it was CBS or NFL. One of them tweeted out Sam Darnold's stats versus Zach Wilson's stats, just to kind of turn the needle a little bit and rub it in a little bit and make it look a little more interesting. His stats.
Why are you going over Sam Darnold's stats?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just saying it was interesting in terms of the Twitter sphere was deciding to throw a little salt in the wound and add a little fuel to the fire in terms of just
once again, you want to start talking about games that happened today. No, I told you not to talk about games that happened.
All I'm saying is that it was interesting just saying that they decided to add a little injury to insult. That's all. Because not that it should matter, but in the world we live in, sort of like last week, it was Darnold versus Wilson, even though it really wasn't.
I don't care about any of it. Zero. Yeah, because I had to deal with my first season of going down to Game Pass. In order to watch the game, I had to wait until the game was over. And then the condensed version wasn't even available for me. So I had to sit there for the 2.5-hour version, which meant that there were scores being shown under. And I didn't want to watch the scores because if I wasn't going to know any scores of games, then I was going to have to hope that I was going to watch all the condensed versions of the games I wanted to watch. And then they went to, breaks. It was just, and then I had to deal with the game, and it was just so aggravating. And then finally I checked it. I kept checking every half hour. And finally I saw the condensed version up about an hour after. So I'm going to be watching Jet games 6 hours after they start now because I can't deal with a replayed game without the condensed version. That's the worst of the worst, but especially when you have to deal with a performance like this. And the thing was, just watching the game, Wilson was really the only part of the game that was worse than the week before. Everything else was fine. Yeah, there was some more dumb penalties on the offensive line. That's just going to happen. That's just those guys. But other than that, they pressured the quarterback well. If they didn't have the turnovers and give Mac Jones all that great field position, I don't think they were going to march down the field very much during the game. So really, it was Zach Wilson. And I think that's a positive because they ran the ball a lot better. And I got to give credit to LaFleur for helping the running game advance, but there's a lot to be critical of LaFleur and or Zach Wilson about this. He needs to stop dialing in to one receiver. Great quarterbacks don't zero in on one guy. Enough of the Corey Davis stuff. Okay, you've got a bunch of receivers out there. Use them. And it's Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. It's Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. It's Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. I mean, dude, you got other receivers and tight ends, and if he's not going to get him the ball, then it's up to the coordinator to figure out how get other guys active in the game.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So in terms of the running attack, what we did see, if you want to call it that, is almost a changing of the guard very early. They got Carter involved very early and often. They got Ty Johnson involved very early and often. Coleman really did not play a part in this game plan seemingly at all.
Yeah, or one run, I think, or one or two runs, and that was it.
That's about it. In terms of receiving, I mean, either A, he was honed in on Davis, or B, other guys were getting. I mean, late in the game, it was garbage time. He actually started going to a lot of other guys. I mean, Davis did really nothing by comparison all game long. He went to Berrios a lot late because he just dumping balls off.
Well, he should think of doing that earlier in the game, dumping balls off. How many times did we see guys wide open and he's looking to throw the ball over their heads?
Yep.
which is
I mean,
what a
well,
rookie quarterback's going to do. That's
well,
why they got to fix that.
it's also a rookie quarterback with not an inordinate amount of a lot of experience, right? So the argument you talk about Mac Jones, Jones obviously different program, different system, different level of experience, and also the ask of him is a lot different. I mean, they use Damian Harris a lot to set up Jones, and I wouldn't say they've dumbed down the game plan, but I would also say it's a much more simple game plan to a certain extent, just playing to the strengths of what Jones has versus what Wilson has. And Wilson, look, I don't think you can sugarcoat it. Wilson had a horrific game. He was horrible today. There's no way of putting it nicely. When that happens, you can have some takeaways. Look, Jones had a short field a couple times to work with. I also think they took their foot off the gas pedal pretty much the entire fourth quarter, New England, because the game was already out of hand by the end of the
Oh
third.
yeah, the fourth quarter I didn't even watch. But the parts where like the first interception, I actually thought could have been Corey Davis's fault because it looked like Davis kind of stopped, and then Zach kind of threw where he thought he was going to go to. The second one where Davis blamed himself for the ball tip, that again, all he had to do was hit more underneath. You don't even worry about that. The other two were terrible after that. I don't know what he was doing on the other two. The other two was I'm a rookie quarterback. I'm flustered. This isn't going well. And I'm just going to keep chucking the ball up because this is what rookie quarterbacks do when they get flustered in games that they play poorly. So,
Yeah, and this is also we talked a little bit about luck, and I'm not going to oversell one bad game, right? It happens, but this is what we've talked about also having an experienced backup. This is where an experienced backup would help. And Josh Johnson's nice, but having a guy who's really gone through the wars that can help coach Wilson or deal with Wilson on the sidelines to help
well, we
maybe get
have
him
one of those
recentered and
coaches. He
refocused.
died.
Right. Correct. But again, having a quarterback like that would be nice also, right? A guy, I mean, this is what I mean, Darnold wasn't great, but Josh McCown at least was able to play that kind of role because he'd been in the league for so long. Johnson has not been in the league for a while. They don't have that. Look, it's a bad game. It's also look, it's magnified because it's the second game of the season. It's magnified because it comes against New England. It's magnified because the Jets have now lost 11 straight games, I think, in September. It's one on top of another on top of another. It's a pile on effect. But the real key, look, if this had not been against New England and against some other opponent, it wouldn't have the kind of magnitude. But because it comes against New England, because that New England's had the Jets number for so long, that it just makes it look a little worse in terms of people's eyes when they look at it. It goes, oh, it's another thing like Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, right? It's kind of just this media or the attention that gets to it because of the fact that it's New England. It gets overplayed to a certain extent. Look, wipe the slate clean. You go up against Denver next week, and you have an opportunity to see what you can do against a team that I don't know if you can beat, but you wouldn't think defensively, even with Von Miller, that they should be able to do to Wilson what New England did today, because New England confused the heck out of Wilson today, and that's just
Well,
what New England does to quarterbacks at times.
again, I think Zach, though, I didn't see anything on there that wasn't like they were linebackers that were faking to blitz and moving into coverage and picking them off. And it was again, I think most of the interceptions were Zach Wilson stupid plays. And I honestly don't think it's going to be any better next week. If you, I think Denver's defense is really very
Well, it's a good
capable,
defense.
and he just has to play better. That's it. It's not the opponent, it's Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson has to play better, and we'll find out what the offense does. We'll find out what the game plan is. We'll find out if it's just okay. We're just going to keep running this offense. And again, I think that this offense, the way it is, like if I envision what I believe this offense is going to look like when things are going well in a couple of years, I believe based on what I've seen in Green Bay, based on what I've seen in San Francisco, they need a number one tight end. That's what appears these coordinators want. The Jets don't have that. The Jets have these okay, conservatively good blockers. You throw the ball, they catch it guys. They don't have guys that are going to scare opposing defenses. That's an issue because this is what happens when you don't play your tight ends. Your quarterback, your young quarterback's only looking for receivers. And I don't I'm also a little bit upset about this whole Denzel Mims thing. I don't know what's going on there, and I don't like it because I don't like it when I see a player, a young player, that when he plays, he he plays well, and then we have to hear the coaches tell us that, well, it's a numbers game. Well, he did this, he fell behind here. These guys were getting more reps, like all excuses, and it's like, can you play the kid? Why don't you play the kid? He's more talented than Jeff Smith. He's more talented than. Why is Braxton Berrios and Elijah Moore out there and Denzel Mims is not? Okay, that's inexcusable. One or the two should be out there with Denzel Mims. Can we at least see Mims do something wrong on the field of play so we could go, oh, I know what you're talking about now. I can see what you're saying. But I just don't like what I'm seeing, what I'm not seeing with this, with not having a talented receiver out there when Zach Wilson needs all the help he can get.
So let's touch the tight end. I mean, we thought we had our number one tight end. Turns out it proved not to be the case. And now Herndon is in Minnesota because Herndon didn't pan out. And we both thought a couple of years ago that Herndon was going to be that guy. Turns out we were unfortunately
Made Joe
wrong.
Douglas an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yep. And with
Fourth round
Mims,
pick?
look,
Okay.
yep. And with Mims, I don't think, look, there clearly has to be something else behind the scenes that's going on. We have no idea what it is. They're not forthcoming in terms of what it is. They're not going to be forthcoming in terms of what it is. But I agree with you because it's a second round pick by Douglas. The Jets have had a litany of second round wide receiver draft picks that have not necessarily panned out. And we talked about the transference from McCagnon to Douglas and hoping Douglas was doing a better job of drafting. And if it turns out you've now wasted a second round pick on a guy we thought we had upside last year and saw some signs last year, and all of a sudden this year it's either perception or reality in terms of him not being in there, and now you have a wasted draft pick, it's not necessarily optimal when you need all the talent on this team you could possibly get because of the fact they need a material uplift in terms of talent given where they are.
Yeah, because they went ahead. Oh, ooh, they activated Keelan Cole. Oh, okay. Did he play?
Nope. And Crowder was inactive,
And
right?
Crowder
So
was inactive. So what
so when
happens
Crowder
when Crowder plays?
comes
Then
back,
when are we
right,
going to see Denzel Mims?
right, exactly.
Look, if you don't want him, go ahead and trade him somewhere else, and then he can go ahead and be a superstar somewhere else because the kid's very talented. I don't believe that he's not good. I haven't seen it yet, and again, that's why we're just going to have to deal with this because I don't think the offense is what the offense is going to look like. It's not about throwing to the wide receivers in this offense, and we see it. It's just not. They have three slot receiver. When Crowder gets back, they're gonna have three slot receivers basically, and Corey Davis, and actually four if you want to count Keelan Cole. So if they don't want to play Denzel Mims, then we don't have a true, really number two outside receiver, and that's okay. Just that's their decision. Otherwise, also by the way, I don't ever want to see a pitch again in my life. Okay. I hate pitches. They suck. All right. The Jets were doing a great job handing them, inside handoffs, getting 4 yards, getting 8 yards, getting six, and then it's -3. The pitches, I mean, do you ever honestly, it's like what, 10% is successful? A pitch? This ain't college. These guys are too fast. We're just going to pitch the ball to the outside, and you expect that, especially with our offensive line, that they're going to, and our smallest receivers, that we're going to be able to block on the outside. Come on. I hate that call. Anyway, boy, that chop block also was really the end of the game, to tell you the truth, because we were still in the game, and then the chop block came after we had a big gain, and it set us back, and then he threw the interception the very next play that ended the game. That was really the end right there.
So. It's mistake. Well, again, the team is in a position where they need to limit or eradicate the mistakes, but the problem is they're a mistake-filled team, and they have been for years, unfortunately. the thing that they need to work on is eliminating those plays. Those are the plays that are the killers. You can't take big gains off the board. You can't create drive ending situations because you have a penalty, and it's a penalty of either over aggressiveness or not knowing what you're doing or just stupidity sometimes. And this is the things that kill them, drive after drive after drive
Yeah,
after drive
I
after
would have to
drive.
blame the rookie on that, because you have your center standing right in front of the blocker. You can't go over there and do that. It's just, who taught you that?
Right.
I mean, if nobody's there, that's one thing. But when the guy's standing right in front of the blocker, you can't go low. I mean, come on. And Michael Carter actually played a good game, and he had one bad play, and it happens to be like the biggest play of the game that really ended any chance that we had. So, but he ran well, and that's why I said the defensive line, the pressure was good, sacked them a few times, Mac Jones. But once again, we come up with a sack and a fumble, nobody jumps on the ball. We didn't come off, the ball gets tipped a couple of times, nobody picks off the pass. So, they have to come up with opportunistic plays on defense to turn the game over. It'll happen. It'll come. It's just very frustrating, like I said, when your rookie quarterback has one of these games. I'm just glad that it wasn't compounded by a lot of other players playing poorly, because we still have a lot of banged up guys, key guys that aren't playing, and all things considered, I think, considering just the fact that one guy lost the game for us, it could have been a lot worse.
Well, it's also compounded because first home game of the season, first home game, I wouldn't say post pandemic, but
Yeah.
not really having anybody in the stands.
Fans
And you
must have
have
liked
this
that.
crowd,
They must have
the
enjoyed that
crowd
game.
is all hyped. You have a divisional game. It's against New England. It's the history that exists there. And they kind of came out and laid an egg. Or, I mean, you can argue one person laid an egg. Overall, they laid an egg. I mean, it's a team game. They lost 25-6. Not necessarily Robert Saleh's home debut. Clearly not the way you want to show up in front of the home fans.
So it's Denver, and then after that, is that the Atlanta game?
Yep, pretty sure.
Well, at least we got the Atlanta game. So we'll keep our
We say
finger.
that now.
We'll keep our
We
finger.
say that
Well,
now.
I mean, who else is on the schedule?
Yeah, I know.
So
Again, we thought this year. We said 5 wins was the hope, right? 5 or 6 wins was kind of going into the season where we were hopeful to get to,
yeah,
right? It's
5 is now.
the thing.
That's the
The
high
thing we
mark
want
now.
to. Well, so here's the thing, right? The thing we talked about is you want to see progression week to week, right? First week, decent. They had a shot, right? They couldn't stop Carolina late when they had to. If they got the ball back, you don't know what would have happened, but McCaffrey did what McCaffrey does, and they ended up basically eating the remainder of the clock. This week, you had major regression, right? So the thing we've talked about is you want to see gains and progression week to week to week, even if there's not a win, right? You
Well,
want to
again,
start
though, that's the
building towards
quarterback.
something.
But that's the quarterback.
So next week,
The
as you
offensive
said,
line did a much better job this week in the run game, so that's a good thing.
and I think you're going to see a lot of Michael Carter and a lot of Ty Johnson next week.
And then the pass rush was a little bit better, so that's good. Even though I didn't know, did they call Quinnen Williams' number?
Not a lot.
Yeah. So
Not a lot.
that's kind of getting old too. Sooner or later, at some point during early part of the season, we have to start seeing some of these guys. And CJ
Well,
Mosley made some plays, but you got to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. You have to make turnover plays. That's why he's getting paid the big bucks, not to
yep,
make
agreed.
big tackles 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. So
Yep.
a lot of work to do. It's going to be a long season. We got to deal with it. We just have to hope that Zach, well, he can't do worse than this.
We hope.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So next week, if we're on the air for the post game, it will probably be pretty late, like 8 o'clock ish, 9 o'clock ish. And hopefully we will. So Jan, we'll talk maybe hockey soon. That'll help us. When's hockey season?
October 12th. Training camps open this week.
Oh, okay. So only a few more weeks for the regular season.
Yep, October 12th.
So it's quick. All right, Jan. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds good.